Hello everyone, I'm Mark Thompson, and these are Alteryx tutorials. Welcome back. Today's session is going to be weekly challenge number 260, and in it we are given a bunch of pieces of information about trucks and their size and the gas fill-ups and the cards they used and the prices at different days. And what we want to identify ultimately are transactions that need to get flagged. And the way we do that is we want to transactions that exceed the vehicle capacity times fuel price should be flagged with a 2. Transactions that exceed 90% of the fuel capacity times price should be flagged as 1. Otherwise, they're fine. We are given a number of pieces of information. We are given some transactions, a card and the date and the amount, and then some card pairings that says, hey, this van number was used, this card was used with this van number, and then the fuel prices on different dates. The first thing that we want to do with this is really kind of organize our data so that it's all together in one piece. And mind you, there's actually this other piece of information as well that says van number 0 through 99 is diesel and a 25-gallon capacity. If it's 100 through 999 is gas and it's a 33-gallon. And we will talk about that, and you'll see that I don't have any connections here. And we'll talk about that when we get there. First thing we want to do is let's get our data all together so that we can understand what we've got going on. So let's take first and do our transactions, and we're going to match them up with the credit card that was used. And so you see you've got a card number here and a card number here. And so we get this out of the join. You get this up here on the join menu. And we're going to join by card number. And what we're left with at the end of that is we've got a card, a date, an amount, the van number, and quite frankly, I had already run this. We don't need that, and you'll see that I did this in here. You don't need that card number in there twice. So let's get rid of the card number. Now let's go ahead and match that up and connect it with the fuel prices for every given day that the van was filled up. And we're here, and we're going to use that by date. So we have the card transactions here. We have the transactions themselves. Transactions have a date and how much was spent. Let's join that together by date, and so we can see for each transaction what the fuel prices were on those days. And you can see we now have a card number, date, amount, a van number, regular, and diesel. I'm going to go ahead and pull this up and start to pull this up. One of the things that's important is in these challenges, just like at your work, what you're doing, you are oftentimes given information, and you may or may not need it. You may or may not have a better way to use the same information. Here, we're given a van number of 0 through 99 or 100 through 999, and it tells us what the type is and the capacity. There are other ways to do that, and in this particular challenge, I decided it was easier to simply put this in a formula. Now, there are different ways to skin a cat, and I'm not saying anything is right or wrong. This just happens to be how I chose to do it. And we're gonna pull this up. We no longer need it. It's important to understand, however, that you don't always have to use information just because it's given to you. A lot of times it will be a distraction. Understand what's important or what's not. Now, the information does provide us something, but this is just as easily done in a formula like I do here than anything else. And the first thing I say is capacity, okay? Well, if the van number is less than 100, then it's 25. Otherwise, it's 33. That's the capacity right there. Next, fuel. If the van number is less than 100, then it's diesel, else gas. So you can see we've got diesel or gas. Next, we take and we want to know what the price is. Well, if the fuel equals gas, now mind you, we've got these two columns, this regular and this diesel, from the fuel prices. We've got the date and we've got the regular and diesel. So we're now looking at this going, hey, if this is gas, then come over here and give me, if the fuel is gas, then give me the regular right here. Else, give me diesel. So now we've got the price. Next thing we do is we look at it and we go, okay, what's the price times capacity? That's pretty straightforward. What is the price times the capacity? And we get 71.28. Now we get into the evaluation part of this. And we want to know what the ratio is, right? How much did they spend? That's the amount that we got right here, right from the start. Amount. What is the spend ratio? The amount over the price times capacity. And then we'll multiply it by 100 so that we're not looking at just decimal places. And we get a price capacity ratio. And finally, we get on to the final piece, which is deciding whether this is, as we set up here, if transaction exceeds vehicle capacity and fuel price, it should be flagged as a 2. Well, that would mean over 100. While transactions that exceed 90% should be flagged as a 1. So our final formula here is putting either a 2, a 1, or a 0 as our final column over here that says, hey, if the spend ratio is greater than 100, then 2. Else if, in other words, if that's not true, then evaluate this statement, which is spend ratio is greater than 90. Then put a 1. Otherwise, else, put a 0, end the statement. I could put a little thing in here so you can see each one of these. If it's greater than 100, then 2. Otherwise, if it's greater than 90, put a 1. Otherwise, 0. Maybe we can keep these two consistent. We'll do it like this. Otherwise, greater than, get 1. Otherwise, 0. And then finally, we've got these transactions. We're going to sort them in a descending order. The spend ratio is descending. So we've got our 2s up here, our 1s up here, and all of these 0s. So we now know that if we want to flag these transactions, and you could even do something like this, where I'm just doing this right now on the fly. If you come up here and you grab a filter and you say transaction flag does not equal 0, and you could say greater than 0, whatever. Run, and you see we have 8 transactions here, 3 2s and 5 1s. Again, I am Mark Thompson. These are these are Alteryx tutorials. I hope you've enjoyed it. As always, please leave a comment, like, share, and let your neighbors know about it. Love to hear from you. Till next time, see you then.